So swing still looks pretty good. What I want you to understand though, and why there's some of those toe misses, is you're basically taking, so it's pieces of a puzzle that fit together. So your old downswing fits your old backswing. What I mean by that is, in the downswing, when you had the club face open and the club shaft a little bit steep, when you swing down, you understood that if you kept working this club out, you're not going to hit it well. Hence, where the old misses were the heels. So the club was steep, club face was open, and you had to pull this club in to line it up and hopefully square the club face, which is why the old misses were the heels. Now, with the new miss being the toe, we have this club face a little bit more square, but it's also traveling down much more shallow. So instead of being steep like this, the pitch of the club is a little bit more at like a 45-degree angle rather than like, let's say 70. And you're still pairing that with your old downswing where the arms work out too much and then you're still pulling them in, which is now why we're getting those toe strikes. So we kind of have to reprogram the downswing as well. With that said, I wanna kind of take a step back and work on one more thing in the backswing. So I showed it to some other instructors of mine. Obviously, I wanted to show them the difference in your before and after, where when we had the right wrist bent back, how much more shallow and how quickly it changed, how quickly you changed it. And we were talking a little bit about your downswing sequence from the face-on view. So pelvis moving towards the target, the pelvis staying ahead of the middle of your chest, unloading of the club, all that stuff that you have is really, really good. What I think is going to help you, so to combat the toe misses, we need your arms to be working out more in the downswing since this club is shallow. Since you have the club in an advantageous position, your arms have to work out now. When you had the club steep, you understood that you need to pull it in to make good contact. So we need your arms to work out more in the downswing. That should help with centerness of contact. With that said, in the backswing, you start to take it back, and you'll notice it's like the last part of your backswing, from like basically here to the top. You're going to take your pelvis, and it's going to move ever so slightly away from the target, so your upper body gets a little bit ahead of your lower body. What I think is going to benefit you, and this will aid in your arms moving out in the downswing, what I think is going to benefit you is when you turn back, if we get you a little bit more hip depth. What I mean by that is, from this view, if I were to rotate and I were to feel like almost like my left part of my pelvis is moving toward the ball, my right pelvis doesn't, but I rotate, that's no depth. If I feel like I'm taking my right hip and moving it behind my right heel, that's keeping some hip depth. So I think a little bit of that early to start your downswing, or backswing, sorry, is going to also allow for your arms to work more in. So what I want you to understand is that when you swing back, if your arms are above the plane of your shoulders, when you start swinging down, your arms are going to be working a little bit out a little bit early. So I don't expect for you to get your arms to work out with where they currently are in the top of your backswing, because you would probably have struggle making good contact. So what I think for you we need to do is, in the backswing from the front, you wouldn't see any of this. So there would be rotation, basically keeping the center of your pelvis in the same spot. So turning back, the right hip is going to go a little bit behind your right heel. That'll keep your body aligned better. It's also going to allow you to turn. When you turn, your arms are going to feel like they're working more around you. So there's a fine line to this. I don't want you to just pull your arms in. I want the turn to create the depth. Okay? So when we get a little bit of right hip depth, it's going to be more of this working back than away. There's a little bit of hip depth, we get a little bit more turn. When we get a little bit more turn, your arms can work around you. When your arms are now, let's say, on the same plane as your shoulders, they have a lot more room for you to work out, but they need to work out because your right wrist is bent back and the club is much shallower in transition.